Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and what you're about to watch is just a very, very short and small segment from an interview I did with Google whistleblower and platform creator of Blast.video, Zach Voorhees. Well, this is YouTube. This is actually the company in which he used to work for and blew the whistle on. So obviously there is only so much that Jason Bermas can say on this platform. So I'm going to encourage you to go check it out at one of the alternative platforms. You want to come over to Rockfin, and then you can get all my stuff for free, uncensored. We're also at Rumble, where we did this live. Notice Clay Clark and his full interview are here after what? Us being forced to censor that on YouTube as well. And eventually, it'll also be available over at Podbean in audio and video format, uncensored. So if you like an RSS feed, sometimes it's a little behind, but another great way to check out the material. If you want to support the broadcast, the links are down below. Best way to do it is to buy me a coffee, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. I couldn't do it without you guys. So without further ado, let's check out Zach Voorhees.
Well, I think that, the only way that we can express our displeasure that has any meaning is at the ballot box. For what, the democracy that we have, we need to leverage it and use it and try to, make a statement against these authoritarians. And the best way to wake up our fellow person who's asleep is to make this conspiracy show itself. 6 years ago, I didn't believe in conspiracies. I didn't think that any of them had any, I thought that it was like a human phenomenon of just creating nonsense. And then it turns out that some of them are actually true. And all the noise is there is to to distract us from, the real conspiracies that we ought to know what's actually going on with our world. And so I think that part of the way that we win this thing is in some ways, you ever hear the theory of accelerationism?
Yes.
Yeah. We have to play this like a judo move and get them to be even more radical so that we can, show our fellow person how, truly radical these people are. Because we're in an existential, crisis here. We need to wake up because this technopoly has its hand in the Pandora's box of artificial intelligence.
They certainly do. And let's talk about that radicalization just for a second. I would argue, as somebody who was pretty moderate on the abortion issue, it was never my hill to die on. I certainly would never want an abortion in my personal life. I don't like the fact that a man can get a woman pregnant, want that child, and literally have no say. But for the most part, I would have stayed out of it if we kept it at 3 months max, right? And first trimester, and that was the standard. But right. Because things got so damn radical and it was no longer 3 months, it was 6 months. And then you had people talking about 9 months. I was born at 7. I was literally walking 9 months after I was born. Okay, that's 16-month-old fetus. Okay, mm-hmm. It rocks me when I hear it's okay to kill a 6-month-old. Well, let me just say 6 months, you could probably survive outside of the womb. But then you take it to the next level where you're talking infanticide.
Yeah.
And that triggers me, and it's because of that radicalization that I point to Roe v. Wade, and I say, hey, do you understand that Roe v. Wade started because Georgia had a 3-month law, and they basically said because they had that 3-month law, every other state had to have that 3-month law also, and then it got expanded upon, and because it was a state's right that went federally, you could make the argument that now 6 months is abortion, or even infanticide is abortion. Yeah. I think that's what you mean when they pushed it too far, and now it's not only the conservatives, the religious right that see a problem with it. It's people that are much more moderate like myself going, whoa, this is way over the top, and I'm glad it's back to the states. I would agree with you there. I wanted to hit on one more thing before you go. I know your time is limited.
But I want to add to that.
Go ahead.
Right? The thing I want to add is that, conservatives, we need to reach across the aisle. 49-day abortion ban out of the gate is probably not the right idea. I don't think a lot of people, like the majority of the people, agree that 49 days is the best day. Like that's a month and a half. You know, the left achieves their agenda through incrementalism. And really what the conservatives should do right now is that their first statement about this abortion thing should be the outline of post-birth abortion, right? Like who's going to vote against that, right? Like a sting. And then, you know, get to a point where, you know, it's reasonable that people agree. You know, it turns out that Europe has more restrictive abortion, you know, laws than the United States does. You know, there's a middle ground that people on both sides can be, you know, more comfortable with. And the thing is that a lot of people, including myself, don't believe that a human is in the form of an unborn fetus. Even be argued that a baby is not even, you know, essentially like a sentient being even after it's born, which is, but that's an argument I'm not going to make, but that's what some people say. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that 49 days is too little. I think 16 weeks is about the limit that is acceptable in, you know, across the developed world. And obviously some democracies in the United States, some states will choose to do more constrictive things, but don't go out of, you know, the gate and say 49 days. It's just going to cause you to lose the next election if the leftists decide they're going to come out. And look, you know, we've got more important issues than, you know, this abortion for the country. You know, it's not, abortion is not the most important thing. The election is the most important thing. If we do not have, you know, our representative democracy, if it's overrun by this banking cartel, that's it. Like, you know, who cares about abortion? There's going to be mass genocides of adults, right?
Listen, man, again, I'm with you. And I've been talking about, you know, bioengineering, geoengineering, population stabilization, which is also in that document. You know, all these things for a very, very long time. In fact, I made a film in 2013 called Shade the Motion Picture, where I have a 20-minute section on Bill Gates. You know, I was talking about Bill Gates, farmland, GMOs, Monsanto, shots, you name it, back then trying to warn people, and then all of a sudden this stuff comes to fruition. Sure, it gives me more clout, but I'm not happy that we didn't do anything about it. We need to do something about it now. I want to talk privacy with you because I found your speech over at Reawaken America kind of enthralling. You know, somebody brought up these different type of devices. I actually have one. I have a Graphene OS phone that I use. It's a Google Pixel 4. And there are a lot of these devices where you can, quote unquote, de-Google them with other operating systems via Graphene, Lineage OS, and others. And when you were asked about this, you talked about how, you know, a lot of these things are based in Linux or Ubuntu. And if you really don't want the federal government or the CIA or the NSA spying on you, you should probably go with a Chinese phone a la Huawei or something like that. Discuss that. I found that very interesting.
Yeah. So it's very hard to not get a phone that's compromised by the intelligence services. They have ways of getting into your phone. And the thing is that in different regions, different intelligence agencies have managed to get their fingers into the hardware and software of the devices. And so the question is that, you know, do you fear the Chinese intelligence services or do you fear your own CIA more? You know, the CIA has access to me. They could take me out, right? I don't think the Chinese have the same sort of motivations. They just don't care what Americans think about them in the same way that, I mean, they're concentrated on their own citizens, you know, domestically. And so, you know, the thing is that if you want to try to get off of the CIA NSA grid, it might behoove you to buy one of these compatible Chinese phones and pop, you know, an American SIM in there and see if that works. And yes, they'll be vulnerable to the Chinese intelligence services, but they'll be less vulnerable to the CIA. And it's probably a controversial opinion, but you know, that's my honest opinion, what I think is the best way to get off the grid.
Well, I've always made the argument, especially now, we're well beyond nation states. For instance, you look at that book and Eric Schmidt. It was Eric Schmidt that was talking about Dragonfly when confronted on it all the way back in 2017 and 2018, the censored version of their web browser. Well, now our Google browser is pretty much what Dragonfly was. On the flip side of that, Google, aside from being into quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and NASA, they're also doing and have been doing drone warfare work for the Defense Department that you actually had employees walk out on. So, this is a Defense Department contractor in a country that we know has been spying on the American people via every communication, even pre 9/11. Everybody needs to look into Hepting versus AT&T, where they actually put server systems in all the major telecommunication centers that through Norris Insight Systems was going directly to the NSA. We had software such as Carnivore and Promise prior to 9/11. And then with the institution of Homeland Security, these fusion centers that came out, and now all these domestic terror units, a la Signature Reduction and others, they have carte blanche. I believe that they go well beyond just what we do in text messages and conversations, as I'm sure you're aware of. You worked at Google. ACR, which is automated content recognition, is on all of these devices. One of those software programs is called Alfonso, and in real time, they are aggregating both auditory and visual content in a manner that is not listening in on you. Yucca, yucca, yucca. In other words, they're using a different technology. So they're saying, well, no one's really listening. We're running it through an algorithm. And nobody's really watching. It's not the same kind of video program. A lot of this is semantics, and I believe could be challenged in court. Do you think that individuals have an opportunity now with Alex Berenson beating Twitter, getting back on Twitter and obviously showing they violated their terms and policies, to take on YouTube and Google for their medical misinformation and harmful content, Johnny Nonsense?
Yeah, sure. If they want to try the case in California or through an arbitration, the problem with these big tech cartels is that to sue them is out of reach for most Americans because of something called the Forum Selection Clause in the Terms of Service, which mandates that if you're going to sue these tech companies, you got to do it in California. And my message to the conservatives across the country is you need to create a law that nullifies the Forum Selection Clause of these big tech cartels, right? Saying that no American can give up their right in our jurisdiction when they sign with big tech, and therefore, these constituents will be able to sue Google in a local court, or Facebook or Twitter. You got to get them all because these forum selection clauses are the aegis shield that is protecting Google from, a just court. And so if you're a representative out there, you can do a lot of good for your business, because this is just like an individual problem. This is a problem of their business constituents, the owners. These owners want to be able to have recourse if Google decides to shut off the switch, like de-index them, censor them. If there's a jurisdiction where Google's going to have to fly its lawyers out in a court that's not friendly to it, Google's going to think twice about censoring. It's just as simple as that. It's just the threat of a big stick is going to, help fix this situation. So if you're a legislature for a state out there, please create a law that nullifies big tech's forum selection clause in the terms of service and propagandize that to your constituency, because they're going to love it. They're going to love it. You can use it in your campaign video. But we really need to defeat this forum selection clause. I feel like that's one of the biggest ways we can use decentralization in order to defeat the centralized big tech monopolistic censorship cartels.
Zach Voorhees, always a pleasure. Blast.video is the platform. Zach Voorhees, not like Jason Voorhees. It's with an IES, guys. He's not a ski-masked serial killer in the movies. If you want to check out Google Leaks, Censorship Exposed, you can follow him at Perpetual Maniac on Twitter. I'd love to get on Blast Video. I think it's a great aggregator.
Wait, you're not already?
I am not on Blast.video yet.
Oh.
I would love to get on it, my friend. So if we can
Consider
make
it
that
done.
happen, we got Rockfin, we got Rumble, we're on Podbean, we're on all the alternative platforms we can be, trying to push this information out. How do people support you? You know, obviously they can get the book, they can send the links, but how can they financially support you so that you can continue to grow and get these things out there? Because let's face it, man, not everybody has the type of coding skills a guy like you does. And you're walking the walk. You're not just talking the talk. You're making things happen. And I'm very excited about that. So how do people support you?
You know what? I really can't ask for any more support. Like, you know, I got Blast.video launched a few months ago, and then, you know, the support from that was amazing. If people want to join in that, I guess you can go to blast.video/support, and I'll bring you to my Give, Send, Go. But really, you know, the best way to support me is just come to blast.video. Like, I made that for you to defeat the censorship. It's the best place on the internet for news 24/7. And I know that because, you know, it is cross-platform. Like, it works across all the different video services out there. It's the only aggregator that does that on the internet. And, you know, if more people knew about this, they'd be like, oh, wow, the censorship thing of conservatives has essentially been solved. And so, you know, you don't have to give to me, like, don't have to support me. Like, I'm here to support you. I just got hired by a major movie producer. And I can't announce what it is yet that I'm working on right now, but I'm very busy with that. And I'm so gracious that I've had this opportunity to be able to contribute to this very meaningful movie. And so really it's just about, you know, the news for you so that you can make the best informed decisions so that we can save our, you know, constitutional republic. So if you agree with that, please come to blast.video, bookmark it, come to it every single day. So that you can be more informed about what's happening in the world today.
Zach Voorhees, always a pleasure. I'm not sure if you're going to be in New York or Pennsylvania, but if you are, I can't wait to shake your hand and get you in an interview in person. Brother, I love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you. There he is, Zach Voorhees, kicking ass and taking names. I want you to get to blast.video. Hopefully we're going to become a part of that as well. And if you want to support this broadcast, you can do so by buying me a coffee. The links are down below, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. We are on those alternative platforms. Odyssey is backed up my heavily censored YouTube channel. We're rumbling. We're rumbling big time. We're on the Podbean, so if you want an RSS feed, if you want vidcasts and audiocast, you can now do that. And don't forget to Rockfin, $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. You hit that subscribe button on a desktop. You get my material, which I give away for free anyway, right? But you get everybody else's premium material, including great journalists like Max Blumenthal, Michael Tracy, Steve Poikonen, Pasta Jardula, Jimmy Dore, and so many others. Because, folks, if you didn't catch it, to me, it's not about right and left. It's always about right and wrong, and you got to be a part of that. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Love you.